There's all this stuff flooded on social media about letting go. If letting go was that easy, everybody would be doing it. I just woke up not that long ago and I brushed my hair. My teeth aren't even brushed right now. But I was scrolling on this device once again and I came across this clip of an interview of one of my favorite interviewers. She's amazing, by the way. And she had a guest on her show and she was talking about just letting stuff go. And the way that she presented it was that she's like, I was allowed to be angry for growing up like, you know, I'm not going to say exactly because I don't want to offend anybody, but she's like, I had a reason to be angry. I had a reason to be angry about this, about that. And they weren't like, this is going to sound really bad. And I know everybody has their own hurts. Everybody's got their own stuff. And it's not that one hurt is far greater than in the next, but there are some kind of traumatic events that hurt you and they shape you and they make you a completely different person. And I feel like I need to talk about this because there's all this stuff flooded on social media about letting go. If letting go was that easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not that simple. Sometimes it takes years of healing. Sometimes it takes years of crying about it. Sometimes you repress it for years. It all depends on your coping mechanism, the multitude of what happened, and everything that this woman had mentioned. Yes, she had a reason to be hurt about it, but they were kind of all superficial things in my opinion. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because when my mom unalived herself when I was 18 years old, it messed me up. I am still trying to pick up the pieces. I couldn't even hang out with friends last weekend because I was so burnt out and so spent because of just my coping habits. We're all like such complex people. Like everybody is so complex. There are so many different compartments to everybody. Everybody is so different. The way that we grew up, the way that we were treated, just our circumstances, where we lived. Did you live in poverty? Did you grow up, you know, in a family where bills weren't really an issue? Did you ever struggle? There are some people out in the world who have never struggled, and it doesn't mean that, you know, since their boyfriend broke up with them, it doesn't mean that that pain was any less than something else that would happen to somebody, because that was the worst thing that probably ever happened to them. But you have people like myself, and I know that there's people who've gone through harder things than me. And I want to talk about this because I'm passionate about it, and two, I'm so sick of people on social media acting like letting go is so easy. I have done years in therapy. I've tried several different treatments for my depression, and I think I'm so passionate about this because every single time that I open up about my depression, I have major depressive disorder. It's not like, oh, I'm sad sometimes. No, there are days where I wake up and I can hardly get out of bed and my sadness brings me to my knees. And it's not because I choose it. I'm speaking for everybody that struggles with their mental health, and I'm so sick of everything just being glazed over. People are like, oh, talk about your mental health, right? And on the other standpoint, everyone's like, don't be so sensitive. What if you are sensitive like myself? What if you are sensitive like another person? Because I'm pretty damn sure that the people with the biggest sensitivities are the people that care the most, are the people that carry the most love. And it doesn't make them better than the next, but without people like that, there wouldn't be love circulating through the world. I'm not upset about the interview. It just stirred something inside of me because this is shit that I've held inside for so long. And I'm done being silent about it, you know? I like being funny and goofy on my channel. I share my struggles. But on the other standpoint, like, just because you grew up in a certain race and somebody was mean to you in school one time doesn't mean that, you know, like, I don't even know how to word this. Like, it wasn't like there were super traumatic things that happened. I've had several in my life. A lot of stuff I don't talk about. It doesn't make me more special, you know? There's so many people in my life that are like, oh my God, Tyler, your art's so great. It's so great. You're so talented. I'm so jealous. Do you want the mental health issues that are attached to that? Because I'm pretty sure you don't. It sucks. In order to be a good artist, there's usually a great level of suffering that happens. That is why I can pour into my artwork, is because the pain I feel inside, I put it onto this canvas. It's not something that's just given to people. I've always been good at art, but there's like my childhood and stuff. Like, I'm not even gonna get into depth about that because I'm not villainizing my parents. They did the best they could with what they had. But on the other standpoint, the reason why my art is so good, especially since my mom passed away, is because I have suffered a great level of grief. I know what it's like. And going back to like why I don't really open up to people when I'm struggling, I have a clinical condition. My brain, the reward center in my brain is completely different than people who don't have major depressive disorder. Dr. K was talking about this, Healthy Gamer Gigi. I might not put this into full context because he worded it beautifully. And I do apologize if I say stuff wrong. Oh my God. I just looked at my appearance. It doesn't matter. Because it's not the point of this video is the way that I look. I'm just being real, you guys. Dr. K talked about the reward center in the brain, and he talked about how not everybody's is the same, especially when you struggle with depression. There is a term called, hang on, let me pull it up here real quick. Anhedonia, I think it is. Anhedonia. So, according to AI, anhedonia is a symptom characterized by a significant loss of interest and pleasure in activities that were previously enjoyable. It is a common feature of several mental health conditions, including depression, anxiety, and substance abuse disorders. The symptoms: reduced or absent enjoyment in activities that used to bring pleasure, such as hobbies, social interactions, food, lack of motivation and drive, feeling emotionally numb or empty, difficult experiencing positive emotions such as joy or happiness, loss of interest in things that were once important, reduced libido. So I want to talk about this because there was an incident that happened last weekend and I felt like my enjoyment was just zapped out of me. I was surrounded by people and I wasn't enjoying it because I couldn't. I tried. My mind was spiraling. I tried. And I don't always get like that, but when I do, I know I have to go away and I have to be alone because people just don't get it. And I'm not gonna ruin everyone else's fun. But people who struggle with their mental health usually struggle with stuff alone. I think the most annoying phrase, I'm gonna say it, the most annoying phrase is "you're not alone." Yeah, I know there's people around me, but I still feel empty inside. You know, like, that's what you feel like when you're sad, right? That's what happens when depression hits you. It comes out of nowhere. A lot of times it's up without warning. And Dr. K was also talking about, sorry if you hear my furnace, he was talking about, like, because I've been trying to find the root cause of my unhappiness and why I am where I'm at. When you're not fulfilled in your career and you're not like getting rewarded, not rewarded, I'm trying to like word this like trying to be sensitive, but like when you're not finding value or deep meaning in the things that you do as a career, you can have a good boyfriend or a good girlfriend and they can be the most amazing person, but you're still gonna be feeling that lack of unhappiness. But if your career is good, everything else usually elevates around it. And when he was talking about this, I totally agree with him because that is my problem. I'm going from job to job since quitting my corporate job and, you know, since leaving. And sometimes I'm like, did I make the right choice? You know, and the biggest reason why I quit is because I was so stressed out. Now I'm stressed out about different things, which is, example, Exhibit A, my finances have taken a dip. And I've had all of these humbling experiences in 2025. And I want to talk about this because I feel like a lot of times people with like a mental illness like major depressive disorder, you might have BPD, you might be bipolar. It's so stigmatized where when you're struggling, people are like, you're not alone. That is the most aggravating phrase because I've heard it my entire life. Yeah, you're not alone. I feel like it's a phrase that's trying to sugarcoat shit. I really feel like it is. And I don't tell people that because I know what it's like when people tell me that, because it makes me angry. Because I think a lot of times when people are struggling, what they need is for somebody to listen to them. If that person has the capacity, because I'm an empathetic person. My mental health reached a point in the last couple of months where I experienced this feeling of emotional burnout or empathy burnout, and I never knew it was a term, but I was like, someone's telling me this, but I don't feel anything. Like, what's wrong with me? And I was like researching what the heck was going on with me, because I'm like, why do I feel this way? Why can I not feel bad for them? Like, I've never had that happen. And I think it came from years of carrying too much weight, years of being strong for everybody else for so long, that I had to take that energy and stick it back into myself, because I was suffocating, I was drowning, and nobody knew. Because I didn't tell anybody, because they'd be like, well, you're not alone. Or you have the friends that are like, well, I'll be there for you. You say that, but you really aren't. You're not alone. So I don't go to people about stuff. I think a lot of people can attest to that. And I'm not villainizing anybody in my life or your life, because we're all human. We all have our own lives. But the biggest reason why I'm making this video is because letting go takes a lot sometimes. Sometimes it is hard to let that grip go. My mom has been gone for almost 13 years, and I still have a hard time. Because she meant something to me. She was the person that I confided in. She was the person when a boy hurt me, or I had even a bad day. She was there. Even though she struggled, my mom had her issues. She had Major Depressive Disorder. And when she had her off days, I left her alone because I understood. I knew how my mom operated. I was with her every single day, you know? And I think that this conversation needs to go a lot further than just, you're not alone. If you have the capacity, if you have a friend or a family member that's struggling with their mental health, ask them, how can I be there for you? What can I do? What makes you feel loved? That conversation can go a lot further. You can ask them, do you need me to listen to you? Are you asking for my advice? Ask people what they need instead of just assuming, you know? And I don't have trauma because my dad was mean to me a couple of times when I was a kid. It's years of conditioning of not being accepted in the family, like feeling like I'm not accepted. I might be digging myself a hole here. There's a lot of stuff I haven't really talked about on my channel, but growing up and feeling like you're the parent and having to be the adult when you're a child and having all these responsibilities, yeah, it taught me great work ethic. But on the same standpoint, I struggle because I'm a workaholic, because when I'm struggling, I pour myself into my work because I'm trying so hard to make my art into something and my YouTube into something. There was a girl that I saw on the internet yesterday that was a small creator. She had 50,000 followers, and it took her less than a year to get monetized, and she's got like 50 videos. I have over 300 and it took me 2 years, you know? And I did all of that through my suffering. Even though I was sad, I still showed up because I made a promise to myself. And that was the thing that I said I would do. There was a small break that I had to take back in like August, September, because some stuff just things really weren't aligning anymore for me in my life with my YouTube channel. I felt burnt out and a little bit angry about things, and I took a step back because I had to get my mind right. And I think that that's okay sometimes. Sometimes you do need to take a step back. I know I'm kind of floating all over the place in this video, but was that easy to let go, we would just do it. You know, I wanted to get on here and talk about this because I know that there's other people that struggle. If you are a person that has said you're not alone, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm saying that the conversation can go a lot further than that. You know, sometimes people just need space, and they'll tell you that if you ask them. You know, because, you know, I was doing a lot of thinking about this yesterday, and I was like, as a person who has struggled for the majority of their life, I mean, I've had depression since I was 4 or 5 years old. I remember because I remember that level of sadness, you know, and there's circumstances, and I'm not going to get into that right now. I just want to say that being sad is not a choice. Like, when your depression hits you, a lot of times, more times than not, it's not your fault. However, what we choose in those moments to do for ourselves is critical. You know? When I'm sad, like yesterday, like the last couple of days, I slept the majority of the day because my body needed rest. Jim Carrey said something. He said depression is the way of your body's response system saying, fuck you, I'm sick of playing this character. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been wearing a mask for so long. I heard this one quote the other day. It's like, you know, with social anxiety, who would you be if you let down the mask? What are you afraid of people seeing? And I'm still trying to figure that out because I have social anxiety. But I think what I'm afraid of them seeing is the grief that I carry. Because not everybody can handle that. You know, and I'm learning who can hold it with grace. Who can hold a space for me when I need somebody. And it's been hard for me to open up because when you've been the person who has taken care of not only your parents emotionally your entire life, but then going through your 20s and dealing with all of this stuff by yourself, you start to rely on yourself. And I had this conversation with my friend Lisa last weekend, and I told her, I was like, I'm not upset about what my mom did. I know what it's like to have those feelings. I'm upset with her because she promised she wouldn't do it again. She promised me and she lied. And that is why I'm upset. And that's something I need to work through. And I can't just let it go because it's a process. Because you guys, sometimes there's stuff that you're holding on to that you're not even aware you're holding on to. I thought I forgave my mom. And then throughout the years, there's stuff that'll come up and stuff that you need to heal through that you didn't know that you had locked inside of you. But since you healed through X, Y, and Z, that thing is coming up because it's your body's response system of saying, okay, I have the capacity to handle this right now. Whereas 5 years ago, you didn't because you were dealing with two completely other things that were hard for you to handle. You can't just let stuff go because sometimes you don't know that it's inside of you. I'm passionate about it because I know what it's like. I didn't know I was still angry with my mom until she came to me in spirit. Sounds crazy. My light's flickering here. Until she came to me in spirit about a month ago and she asked me, how come you never talk to me? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't. Why? I didn't know. And now I know it's because I'm angry with her. Not because of what she did, but because she lied to me and she left me alone when she was the person I trusted the most with my entire heart. And I understand what it's like to struggle with depression. I understand. I understand that side of things. And this anger is something that I need to work through. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about this because sometimes you don't know what's lying underneath all of that weight. Sometimes life is just heavy. Sometimes you walk through life and things just keep getting harder. Sometimes you walk through, God, it's 13 years almost I've been going through stuff. And people are like, well, you just can't wait for life to get better. Yeah, Susan, I know that, but it's one thing after the next. I don't necessarily know anybody in my life that shit just keeps happening to like that. apparently there's a greater purpose for what I'm doing on here or in my life, because when I'm not sad and my logical brain is there, I know exactly, like, inside we know exactly what we need, but sometimes it's getting quiet with it, and sometimes when you get quiet with it, you don't even know what it is because you're suppressing your emotions. I've never had a hard time dealing with my emotions until people told me repetitively that they're too much, or made me feel that way, because the second I opened up, I was shut out. Oh, I'll be there for you. And then you open up and people don't want to be friends with you anymore. You know, they see you a little bit differently. I think that that's why a lot of people are scared to talk about this stuff. Sometimes I don't have the capacity, especially the last couple of months, to be there for people. It's been really hard for me. And I've never struggled like that before. But I think what life is teaching me is to choose myself and to try and navigate through this stuff, so there is a point in my life where I can let go. My mom attempted when I was 2. My brother was 5. My brother remembers a lot more than me, and I feel really bad for him because I know he struggles. I'm not gonna get into I'm not gonna get into full context as of why, because it's his life. But there's a lot of times where I feel really bad because he has big emotions, you know? And sometimes I can't be there because I can hardly be there for myself when I'm struggling. And I love my brother. And I know why he is the way he is. Then there's the other part of me that feels bad because I have to protect my peace, you know what I mean? Sometimes. And life is challenging sometimes. And I think at the end of the day, we all just do the best we can with what we have. And I'm not saying that, like, if your friends can't be there for you, screw them. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that sometimes people don't really have the capacity to be there for you because they don't even deal with their own emotions. And time again, I have to remind myself of that. But I think it was an important stage in my life to realize that I was being strong for like way too long. I couldn't carry it anymore. I couldn't listen to people because my mind was so loud with my own stuff. And I was just trying to get to the next day, and nobody knew how bad it got. I think the conversation starts here. And a lot of times in those moments, what I've learned about my depression is asking myself what I need in the moment. What do I need? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to paint? Because I mean, there's times where I've done all of the right things, all of the things that I've ever done as far as like healthy mechanisms, like, you know, getting exercise, getting sunshine, creating, expressing yourself. Sometimes you can feel like you're doing all of the right things, but it doesn't seem like nothing is working because the reward center in your brain is turned off. It's not your fault. And sometimes I have to have a couple of days of not isolation, but that is how, like, since I've dealt with everything by myself throughout all of these years, especially without my mom being here, the way that I cope is I have to kind of be alone for a couple of days to get my mind right. And sometimes I have to keep doing things that help me. Like, I slept for the last couple of days. I rotted on the couch. And for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to do it, and I didn't beat myself up. Like, Because usually I'm like, you should be more this, or you should be more productive, or you should do this, or you should do that. And instead I gave myself compassion and I was like, girl, your body's tired. You've been going for such a long time, you know? And it took me years to get to this point. I journaled. A lot of times when we're struggling and it doesn't feel like stuff is helping us is because we're repressing our emotions, because we're telling ourselves we're too sensitive, or we're too much of this or too much of that. Or we feel like it makes us weak. Maybe you've never cried really in your life because you weren't allowed to in your household. Sometimes you just gotta release it. You're releasing your stress hormones, cortisol, through your tears. Maybe that's what needs to happen. You need to have a really good cry session. It doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. God gave us tears for a reason. I think tears serve as a reminder of something that was once great that was lost. You know, something that was big in our life was lost, even if it is a breakup. Because I don't know about you, but I know every time I've gone through a breakup, it feels like I'm dying. And it's not being dramatic, it's feeling like nobody ever picks you. All of these emotions, whatever you're feeling, you know what I'm saying? But I know that was a passionate talk and I just kind of started off, and maybe it's a different kind of video. I was going to roll it into my vlog, but it needs to be its own separate thing because I have something to say, and whether people watch it or not is not my responsibility. I need to stop worrying about that. I just want to say, if you're watching this video and you are a person that's struggling, I see you, and this is a safe space. So if you are struggling and you feel courageous enough, leave me a comment down below. Share your story, it might help somebody else. There's nobody's pain that is greater than the next. There are a lot of different points I made, and it's hard sometimes because I'm the kind of person that sees all the points of view. So I get, like, I can see two people in an argument and I can see both of their points of view. That's what makes it challenging about being me, because I see everything for what it is. Even when I'm making a choice for myself, I know why that person's acting the way they are because of their circumstances growing up. Sometimes my level of understanding is so big that, like, when people treat me like shit, I know why they did it. I have eyes to see that. So if you're watching this video today, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be who you are. It's okay to let down the mask if you needed the reminder. Beautiful things deserve to happen to you. You deserve good things. You deserve people to treat you with kindness. You deserve to be happy. Even if your mind tells you you're not allowed to be that because you're this, this, and that. Sometimes that voice in our mind is mean. It's out for blood, man. I want to leave you with this, and I just want to say that I'm praying for things in your life to get better. I pray that whatever you're holding on to, God helps you let it go, because it's not always easy. And I know that from experience. I've seen people in their 80s holding on to something that happened in their childhood because it made a big enough impact to where they carried it till they were at the end of their road. You know, there's sometimes where I'm so busy fixing myself that I forget to live in the moment. You know, it's really easy to take life too seriously, so if you can do anything for yourself today, I hope you do something that brings you joy. A face mask, reading a book, going to a concert. Sometimes it's staying in and watching a favorite movie, a funny movie, a comedy. Like, sometimes it switches my mind too. I want this to serve as a reminder that things are gonna get better, and I believe that for you. I believe that for me. Being a human is not easy. So, I see you, and thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.